Back to the daily grind, and shout out to the full-time patrons. Make sure to hit subscribe if you're new and hit thumbs up if you're not a baby back bagel biting bitch boy, cause you know what time it is. It's full time.
MMA.
Holy flying flipping flapjack, full-time family. There are levels to this video. Wow, let's get into this. First, I gotta shout out my boy Chris Crooks for being a god amongst men and becoming a full-time patron. Thank you very much, good sir. Hey, that really helps a lot as far as, you know, this YouTube channel is concerned, because right now ads ain't cutting it. So me trying to put full-time into this channel, yo, all the support helps, whether you donate $1, whether you become a patron, or whether you even just watch and hit thumbs up. Thank you very much. But with that being said, let's dive deep into this video, because there are levels to this shit. Check this out, yo. First, Aspen Ladd misses weight, you know what I'm saying, coming into UFC Atlantic City. We talked about that previously on the Kevin Lee video, because Kevin Lee also missed weight. And I was telling you guys, Aspen Ladd is a chick I'm looking at. She's undefeated. She's got serious potential as far as challenging for a title in the future. She's young. She's got trains with some very high level. She trains out of Denver, Colorado, I believe, with Rose Namajunas and them. I was listening to, I believe, CHS Combat Sports. So, you know, Rose trains with Valentina at times. I can't confirm that she's training partners with Valentina Shevchenko and Rose like full time, but she does train with them at times. And with that being said, those are some killers. Rose Namajunas, the current UFC strawweight champion, Valentina Shevchenko, bantamweight title challenger, on her way up to becoming the 120. Those might be two of the baddest chicks in the UFC, Rose and Valentina. So Aspen Ladd is undefeated, coming up, you know, at least somewhat under Rose's tutelage, I would say, and I could be mistaken. I don't know these people, but that's what I've been getting. And also her UFC debut, she got a finish, you know what I'm saying, Aspen Ladd. A second round TKO over Lena Landsberg, if I'm not mistaken, and now she was coming back to fight Leslie Smith, and this is where it takes the crazy turn, because Aspen Ladd missed weight due to certain female circumstances. A lot of people believe it's probably, you know, her period, you know, because you could imagine cutting weight. A lot of fighters say cutting weight's the hardest part. You know, we always talk about how UFC fighters are like, I look at them as like the most valuable athletes on as far as other sports are concerned, you know, because their training is more, you know, they get slammed in wrestling, punched in the face in sparring, they get their joints cranked in jiu-jitsu, then they gotta fight. Well, that's not even considering cutting weight compared to some of these other sports, you know, where you're doing drills, whether you're passing or whatever you're doing with, if you're playing with a ball. Well, you don't have to cut weight for those sports, really, you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily cutting weight. You still got to be athletic and in shape, but you don't necessarily have to cut weight, which is a pretty gruesome process. So with that being said, imagine now cutting weight, the most gruesome part of MMA according to a lot of fighters, while on your period, which is hard for a lot of us to imagine already, because a lot of us are guys, you know, that are on this channel. You look at the analytics, like 90% dudes. But cutting weight while on your period, you can imagine that could lead to some problems, which it was what looks like it led up to Aspen Ladd missing weight by like 1.8 pounds. Not a lot, but either way, now that's just the first level of this. So Aspen Ladd missed weight by like 1.8 pounds due to certain female circumstances. Now, take into consideration, she's fighting Leslie Smith. Now, I didn't know coming into this was Leslie Smith's last fight on her contract. Well, with that being said, what the UFC looks like did is they're going to pay Leslie Smith her show and win money. You know, a lot of times whenever a fighter misses weight, the UFC will give them their show money and just rebook the fight at a later date. Well, what it's looking like here is the UFC is just going to go ahead and give Leslie Smith her show and win money and treat this as the last fight on her contract, even though she didn't necessarily get in there and fight. So it's kind of like Leslie Smith isn't getting a last fight on her contract. It's just like, okay, we'll just give you your win. Go ahead and get on out of here. And normally you'd be like, okay, I mean, if the UFC wants to cut ways with Leslie Smith, like, that's normal. But this is where the other levels come in. So Leslie Smith refuses to take the fight with Aspen Ladd due to her missing weight due to certain female circumstances. So now this gets treated as a win, and it's the last fight on her contract. But now you have to bring in, and Ariel Helwani noted this on Twitter, it's hard to miss the fact that Leslie Smith is like the president of Project Spearhead, which is like the newest fighters' attempt at unionizing fighters. Where, you know, you got like Leslie Smith and Cajun Johnson, you know, two fighters that it's like, you know, a fighters organization by the fighters for the fighters type of deal. And Leslie Smith is like the president, really trying to get that thing up and going. So you can imagine the UFC might want to, you know, like keep her. I don't know. It's just interesting. It's hard to not point that out. And especially when you take into consideration how the UFC, like we just had 2 fights at UFC 223, right? Canceled because the Conor McGregor melee, bus attack, all of that madness. What happened? The UFC paid the fighters their show money, and they're rebooking them in upcoming events. So if Aspen Ladd misses weight here, you might think, okay, pay Leslie Smith just the show money and rebook it. But when you add in the fact that she's one of the main proponents of Project Spearhead, it's kind of interesting to see this difference of, okay, we're going to give you your show and win money and goodbye. It's not surprising to me. I ain't even mad. If I was the UFC, I completely get it, you know, but it's just interesting. I wonder if that has anything to do with it. It might not. It could just be the UFC, you know, it's like we already lost 1 fight on this card, and we kind of wanted Leslie Smith to stay on the card. I mean, I don't know. There's all type of reasons we don't know. I'm not no fucking insider. I'm just a YouTuber. It's just interesting to look at this from, you know, for one, it's kind of interesting the fact that she missed weight due to certain female circumstances. Nothing bad on that or anything. It's just something to think about. Like, cutting weight is already gruesome. Not gruesome. I don't want to make it sound. It is a hard process, but it's already bad enough. And then imagine doing that on your period. Leads to Leslie Smith missing weight by 1.8 pounds. Leslie Smith saying, well, if she's missing weight, I don't want to take the fight, you know, with an overweight opponent. And the UFC's are like, all right, well, then we'll just give you your show and win money, and that'll complete your contract. We'll see you when we see you. So this is just all very interesting, the levels to this right here. But with all that being said, it does mean that will be 2 fights canceled from UFC Atlantic City. Originally, it was just the Oka Sasaki fight versus Babulatov, if I'm not mistaken. That fight was pulled off at this day, and now it looks like Aspen Ladd versus Leslie Smith will also not be taking place, which I thought originally, even though Aspen Ladd missed weight, Leslie Smith might take the fight, just assuming, because Edson Barboza in the main event is still taking the fight versus Kevin Lee, who also missed weight. So Edson Barboza's like, hey, I'll take it. And Aspen Ladd also did say, yo, on top of the normal 20% that fighters get when you miss weight, we also offered to give Leslie Smith an extra $5,000, but she still turned down the fight. So with that being said, this is really interesting. I'll keep you guys updated. Thanks again, Chris Crooks, for becoming a full-time patron. Let the full-time family know what you think in the comments. I'm out. And also, make sure you go check out Patreon. I just put out a couple more videos over there. So, thanks again. I'm out. And as always, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell right next to it so you're notified every time I upload a video. I'm out.
This is #1 bullshit.